Today, we become legends.
Hey, my name's Inter, welcome back to the channel for the Smite 2 Closed Alpha 1 update notes, the 24/7 launch patch. Of course, as you probably know by now if you've been keeping up with things with the Dev Insight show that we had last week, this is going to be an absolutely massive patch. It's completely changing a lot of different things in Smite 2. And from what we've seen so far from the Dev Insight show, it's going to be an absolutely amazing patch. It's going to improve a lot of things in the game. This document is absolutely massive. If we can scroll down it here, this document is absolutely huge. Absolutely huge. So we're going to try and go through things at a reasonable pace here. I'm not going to linger too long on any one topic unless I think it really needs a lot of discussion. Because yeah, this is an absolutely massive patch. So without further ado, let's jump in. There's a bit of a TLDR at the top. So if you're interested in like the main things that are coming, but you're not interested in like major details in them, I'll cover this TLDR here. So this is all of the new stuff that is coming in this patch. So the illustrated card arts are returning. As we've seen, the 2D card arts are going to be coming back instead of the 3D models. They definitely look a lot better, and they're basically reworking a lot of the original Smite 1 card arts. They're going to keep the same style and like same pose for the most part, but they're just going to be like updated with like, you know, better faces and better textures and better background and all that kind of stuff. There's been an environment overhaul for style and fantasy. I'll try and, if I can remember, throw some screenshots up of this kind of stuff in the video if I have time. But yeah, they're completely overhauling the environment. It was shown on the Dev Insight show. I've got a video covering that if you're interested on my channel already. Basically, it's going to be a lot more vibrant and colorful. It's going to be a lot more stylized rather than the realism like UE5 default graphics that we kind of had before. And in my opinion, it definitely looks a lot better. Game-wide performance updates, can't speak to this too much. I've not played on this patch yet, and also I have an absolute beast machine behind me, and so generally this probably isn't going to mean too much for me. I pretty much play this game at capped frame rates anyway. But yeah, for those of you with lower NPCs or those of you having issues on consoles or whatever, hopefully this should be a better update for you in terms of performance. K screen and ability screen is coming, so you press K on PC or whatever the button is on console, and your abilities appear on the right hand side of your screen in a full description rather than having to hover on each ability, which was a bit cumbersome. HUD art / layout adjustments. So this is including like the new active item icons, where if you buy an active item, it appears as a little circular icon with its cooldown next to your ability bar and stuff like that. There's going to be a bunch of HUD adjustments. I believe a full HUD editor isn't coming yet, but hopefully that will be coming soon. 20 plus Smite 1 items have been added to Smite 2. Obviously, they've been changed a little bit. You know, physical power has been replaced with strength, and they might have had their stats shifted around a little bit. But basically, the core essence of these items is exactly the same, and 28 plus of those are coming from Smite 1 over to Smite 2. So there'll be a little bit more build familiarity for those of you that aren't like fully invested in the Smite 2 system yet, and you don't know a lot of the new items. You can maybe pick up, you know, 3 or 4 regular Smite 1 items into your build, and then maybe just save a couple of slots for experimenting with new Smite 2 stuff. Minion knockback, AI, and grouping has been changed to match Smite 1, so in Smite 2, generally the minions would sort of not really react to you hitting them all too much, whereas they do a lot in Smite 1. So they basically match that back to Smite 1 now, so in terms of clearing minion waves, it should feel much better, or hopefully they won't like run away from you as much as well. In Smite 2, that's something I noticed. You hit minions and then like they just completely ignore you. Itemization system changes and UI updates. Short description mode in the store UI, so this is where you have them in like rectangular boxes instead of just a grid of the items, and it shows like a very brief description of what the item does. Like for Devourer's Gauntlets, it'll say stack up to get strength and lifesteal, and this is basically how the default store is on Smite 1 for PC, so if you're used to that, which I am, I'm going to be using this. Wards and consumable slots return and function like Smite 1, so you're going to have your own 2 slots now. They're going to be the same key bindings as Smite 1, and that's where you put your wards and your potions. Starter items are returning, really big one here. It's only 3 words, but it's absolutely massive for the game in my opinion. They're going to be returning with level 20 upgrades. As far as they showed on the Dev Insight show, there was only 1 upgrade for each of these. There isn't 2 branching upgrades, but they did say they plan to add those in the future. I'm not sure if they'll be ready in this patch or not. Maybe they'll be in the next patch. But at the moment, we have a bunch of starter items. They're not new. They're returning ones from Smite 1, but maybe some of them are ever so slightly reworked. But you've got stuff like Bumba's Hammer and Spear. You've got stuff like Bluestone Pendant. You've got Conduit Gem. You've got Sands of Time. You've got a bunch of the really most popular starter items from Smite 1 are going to be coming back with level 20 upgrades, which is really awesome. Active item system changes and better HUD support. So you're going to be limited now to 3 active items. That's the maximum amount you can buy in your build, and they're going to appear with their own little icon next to your ability bar, as I mentioned further up. Revised component building. So basically they've reworked the component system a little bit to be a little bit less confusing, a bit more intuitive. Components can no longer build directly into tier 3s. They have to become a tier 2 first, and no item can ever require more than 2 components now, I believe. So you're not going to have like 3 components building into a tier 2 that then combines into a tier 3 with a separate component. It'll be like 2 components, both building a 2 tier 2s into a tier 3, kind of more like Smite 1. Revised god damage typing and scaling system. So all gods will now only deal 1 damage type in Smite 2, much like they do in Smite 1, but all gods can still build old items, and they can still scale with strength or intelligence or both. Gods will be split into 3 groups, 100% strength scaling, 100% intelligence scaling, or hybrid, scaling off of both. Tanks now have unique unique protection scalings on all of their abilities, which I think is really cool, so you can actually leverage the protections that you're buying to get other effects. And finally, magical and physical penetration is removed and replaced with just standard penetration, kind of like we had on Toxic Blade for a while, where it's just straight up penetration and any god can access it. And of course, with the new item system where any god can build any item, this makes a lot of sense. They have reworked many existing god mechanics to address field issues and functionality inconsistencies with Smite 1, so basically they've done another pass on making gods feel much better in terms of matching how they felt in Smite 1, or making them feel better than they felt in Smite 1, rather than being really janky and weird. They have reworked many existing god visual effects for better clarity, performance, and impact, so yeah, sometimes in Smite 2 fights, things will get hectic, and you won't really be able to like read what's going on very well, because there was too much FX going on, so hopefully that will be toned down a little bit. They've also added a level of detail system that throttles FX emitters based on visual quality settings, so that will probably help with performance a lot. If you're getting bad performance, you can use this system to throttle the FX emitters to only a few, and then you're going to get much better performance from that, and it also probably improve visibility in fights. Future upgrades will use this system to throttle based on distance and number of active emitters on the screen, so yeah, just general performance improvements / visibility improvements. First major pass of bounding box configuration to reduce CPU usage, calculating dynamic bounds on Niagara FX emitters. I'm not technical enough to really know what this sentence means, my apologies. Maybe someone in the comments, if you know, if you're a game dev or you have a little bit of knowledge of game dev, let us know down below. Reworked many existing god audio SFX for better clarity, performance, and impact, and bringing back familiar sounds from Smite 1, so this is a relatively big one. You might not have realized it, but when you jump into Smite 2 and some of the sounds are different, you have a lot of muscle memory built up from Smite 1. You know, like, imagine if they changed like the sound of Loki's vanish or whatever, like completely different. It would really mess with your brain, because like a Loki would vanish and you'd hear a completely different sound that you're not familiar with. Loki's vanish I believe was the same, but like take it as an example. If Loki's vanish was different, it's now going to be the same as Smite 1, so you can get that consistent muscle memory that you built up from Smite 1. Because actually a lot of your game sense and like knowing what's going on around you actually comes from ability sounds and stuff you're not looking at, so making this match Smite 1 will hopefully make the game feel a lot better and more intuitive. So that's the general TLDR of what is coming in the update. In terms of release details, Smite 2's closed alpha will be going online and playable starting August 27th at roughly 7 AM Eastern. From that point on, all progress and account item ownership will be permanent, so if you're buying any skins or you're leveling up your ascension passes, getting worshippers, all that kind of stuff, that is going to be permanent from now on. Even when the game fully releases out of beta or out of alpha or whatever, you're going to keep all of that stuff. Players will launch into this version of the game using the Smite 2 entry on Steam, Epic Games, or console library. All future updates will continue to use this, so yeah, you're no longer be using the Smite public test that we've been using for these closed alphas. It's now going to be, I guess it's still a closed alpha, but for the alpha weekends, you're now just going to be using the straight up Smite 2 Steam entry for that. To guarantee yourself a way to play, purchase a Founders Pack. If you haven't purchased one yet, I do highly recommend it. This is not me shilling, they're actually incredible value if you spend any kind of money on Smite 1 and you do plan on playing Smite 2. Like, even if you just spent a few thousand, like, free gems over time, buying a Founders Pack, the lowest tier, just to double your legacy gems is going to be way more value than trying to buy diamonds. You know, you have to buy half the amount of diamonds, and if you just buy a Founders Pack, even if you only spent like 2,000 free gems over the course of Smite 1, it's going to be a lot of value for you. So if you want to pick one of those up, you can head to my Nexus store, of course. I'll leave that in the description. You can buy them from there, and I get a little bit of a kickback. But yeah, I do highly recommend buying a Founders Pack. They're probably going to go away at some point, and being able to double your legacy gems if you spend any reasonable amount of money on Smite 1 is definitely going to be valuable for you. Obviously, I have like 250,000 legacy gems. It was hella worth it for me, but even if you only spent a few, I think it's worth it. There will be other ways to obtain codes to play, but those will be limited. So yeah, I wouldn't rely on trying to get a code. They'll probably end up like giving some to streamers, YouTubers and stuff that can give them out. If that does happen, I'll be sharing them in my Discord server, so join that if you want to catch that. But I'm not sure on that. That's not something they told me. That's just me speculating, but I imagine they probably will do some kind of like community events where you can give away codes. But yeah, I wouldn't rely on this. If you want to play immediately and you've spent any kind of money on Smite 1 or even just a lot of free gems, if you've been playing for like 6-7 years or something, I would recommend buying a Founders Pack anyway. Okay, I've just realized we've been going for 10 minutes already and we've only just got through the TLDR, so I'm going to try and move at a bit of a faster pace, otherwise this video is going to be like an hour and 30 long, and I don't want it to be like that. So general gameplay. The settings screen has been reordered to better fit industry standards, so the settings screen should be a bit better for you. Video settings. Many graphic settings have been adjusted in functionality for improved performance. Post-processing quality is set to medium. Brightness forced reset back to 50. Brightness was a little bit weird in Smite 2. If you set the brightness slider according to what it actually looked like on your screen, you know why they say the logo should be not visible, it was actually way too dark. And so they're just resetting that back to 50 for everyone, because that's what they think the game's going to look best on. Opacity sliders for VFX have been fixed, and players can now individually scale the opacity of in-game particle effects. So if you want to completely turn off particle effects, I imagine you can, or if you want to turn them down a little bit for better visibility, you can do that. Push to talk is now the default voice chat setting. Default key is shift for PC. Consoles will also default to this option, but will need to use a push to talk button in order to use voice chat, or turn push to talk off. So it's going to be push to talk voice chat in this alpha. But I believe there's still no text chat, which is unfortunate, but apparently that takes a lot more time to implement than voice chat does. Casting types per ability has been added. This setting does save uniquely for each god and can only be configured while playing that god. So, you know, if you're playing Ula or whatever and you want stuff on instant cast, like for me, I play on quick cast normally, but when I play gods like Ula or Susano, some gods that require instant cast, you can change that now. Colorblind modes have been added for those of you that need those. Performance improvements, so we mentioned this already, there should be some kind of performance improvements here, and also there's a bunch of video settings that you can now alter. You know, you can turn down particles, you can turn down VFX and stuff like that to improve your performance, so hopefully people are going to start getting good frame rates. Updated the sound effects for killing a god. This is good. You could barely even hear it. It was almost like you didn't even realize you killed someone until like a little while after. That's nice. Added announcer voice acting for all this kind of stuff, which makes sense. This was all in Smite 1 and it felt weird that it wasn't there before. Gold bursts on killing minions and gods now have proper VFX and sends a particle towards the player, or a projectile towards the player, so kind of like it is in Smite 1 where the gold like flies towards you. Report player, open the scoreboard tab screen to click on a player's name to report them. This can be accessed at any time in a match or at the end of match lobby. It cannot be accessed from the home screen at this time, so you're going to be able to report people, which is very important when the game goes 24/7. You know, we can handle people being toxic and leaving and stuff in the alpha weekends, but if you expect us to play this game 24/7, we need to be able to report people that are doing bad things and get them out of there so we don't have those bad things happening anymore. Mute options are also available. You can mute voice, VGS, pings, and mute all. So if you just want to mute everyone that's being toxic, you can do that. Player behavior policies are consistent across all high-res games. Player reports will be reviewed and bans will be appealed at various lengths or permabans depending on the offense. Deserter penalty is in effect. So yeah, just all that general stuff. There's full matchmaking support for NA, EU, LATAM North, LATAM South, North Asia, and Oceania at the moment. All right, moving on from a lot of that technical stuff though, ranked Conquest test season. So they haven't really talked about ranked all too much until now. This is going to be a completely new system for ranked. We've seen that the matchmaking is going to be reworked substantially in Smite 2. It seems like it's going to be better. We'll have to see, of course, but it seems like there's going to be a lot of improvements made there, and there's also a bunch of new stuff coming to ranked. So Smite 2 ranked system goals: increase the player base and enhance the competition. Yeah, this is a really important one. No one plays ranked on Smite 1. That's the reason why ranked games are so bad. It's because the matchmaking pool is working with so little people because no one really plays ranked. So if you can incentivize people to do that by giving them fairer games, giving them more of a reason to grind, that will be absolutely great. So test season. Different features will be rolled out over the course of this test season to evaluate them individually and for changes to be made as necessary. So expect this test season to be a little bit wacky and changes to be made like in the middle of it that you won't expect. Launch will include the new rating system and party restrictions, with the next features being leaderboards and roll queue, which are planned to arrive in closed alpha 2. So yeah, at the moment there's not going to be any roll queue. It's just going to be whoever selects first, which I imagine is going to cause a little bit of carnage, but that is going to be coming in closed alpha 2. I assume they're doing a patch a month like they were doing on Smite 1, so probably in about a month we'll have roll queue available for ranked and for casuals as well. The test season will last 3 to 4 patches as needed before ranked season 0. So again, assuming they're doing 1 patch a month, that's going to be about 3 to 4 months. So around the end of the year is when we're going to be looking at ranked season 0 launching. And also that might coincide with the free-to-play launch. I'm not entirely sure how fast the development is moving here and when they want to do that, but you know, that will be towards the end of the year. You know, maybe starting in January, they want to launch like a new season and maybe launch it free-to-play. That would be a good time to do so, because they've also got the Vegas LAN, I believe, around that time as well, so they could kind of launch the new season maybe at the Vegas LAN like they normally will do with Worlds in Smite 1. So yeah, potentially that could be a free-to-play launcher. That's complete speculation from me. I don't have any information on that. That's just me running my mind. New rating system, skill rating. So skill rating SR is a brand new ranked system designed for Smite 2. Skill rating is an all-in-one system which describes your skill level and rank tier in Smite 2 ranked Conquest. Previously, these two systems were characterized separately as MMR and TP. So yeah, there's going to be no more TP. It's going to be purely your SR, which is basically an MMR equivalent, and that is going to be what determines your rank. There's no more like you have this rank and your matchmaking rating is this, but you're at this rank because of your TP. It's just going to be you have a skill rating and that determines your rank entirely. The core functionality: all players start at minimum SR, which is 0. SR will adjust more quickly when the system believes you are underrated, but will not heavily penalize a player who has overachieved. So yeah, when everyone starts out at 0, it's going to be essentially like it was a hard reset. The games are going to be absolute carnage, I imagine. A complete and utter carnage, like even worse than a hard reset in Smite 1, because everyone's getting used to the new systems. It's going to be insane, but hopefully if you start winning games, if you got like an 80% win rate in those low level games, you're going to climb very quickly. SR is an uncapped value, meaning that the only limit on how high you can go is determined by a player's skill level. So this doesn't really affect me, and it probably doesn't affect you watching at all either, but I think it's really cool. You know, for those people that really want to grind up to be the absolute best of the best and showcase their skill level, you can really just go as high as you want. You know, they show down here that Deity, the top rank, is 5500 SR. You know, you might have people at like 8000 SR in there if they're insane at the game. So yeah, this is really cool for those like super top end ranked players. It will probably also increase competition for when like the Pro League really gets going. You know, you can scout these people that are like, you know, 8000 SR or whatever, rather than in Smite 1 at the moment where it's 3500 caps. You know, there's probably a lot of people at 3500 cap that might not even be Pro League worthy, but you know, if someone's top 1 in the leaderboards and they've got like 8000 SR and the next next person has 7,000, maybe look at that person to scout them to your team. So it will hopefully improve for competitive as well. At the top end, SR is designed to reward a higher win rate over a higher win count due to encouraging serious competition at the highest levels. This is also really good. Don't encourage people to just spam grind games. Like, that's kind of what TP does. You know, getting more and more TP just because you're playing a lot rather than, you know, if you actually have a high win rate or not. So incentivizing a higher win rate is good. You want win rate to be the determining factor, not how much time they have to play ranked. SR's integration into ranked matchmaking will expand over time, with the first iteration of the test season not being the final intent. Updates to come soon, so if you see any issues, definitely let Harris know that we're looking to iterate on this system. So new ranks, ranked tiers and divisions have been revamped for Smite 2 in line with the switch to SR. So you can see them here. It might be a little small. Let's open it in a new tab. It's a bit of a low quality image, my apologies for this, but yeah, it's going to go from Amber, which is 0 SR, Bronze, Silver, Gold, Platinum, Diamond, Obsidian, Masters, Demigod, Deity. So that's going to be the new ranks for Smite 2. And each of these, aside from Amber is 0, Bronze starts at 800, and then from Bronze it's 600 SR all the way up to Demigod, and then it's 500 for some reason all the way up to Deity, and then obviously it's uncapped. So if you're in Deity, if you have 5500, you're not capped at 5500, you can go as high as you want. And yeah, they show that here. That's all of the skill ratings if you couldn't really see them in the image. I know it's quite small and YouTube compression probably doesn't do it any justice. Demigod, there will no longer be divisions. Divisions. There will be 3 divisions as well in each rank. So you can be like Silver 1, Silver 2, or Silver 3, and all the way up to Demigod 1, 2, and 3. And then in Deity, there's not going to be any divisions. Rather, the way to separate yourself from the competition is to achieve a higher skill rating with the uncapped system. Once in the Demigod rank, players will battle to earn the rank of Deity. This is the most prestigious rank in Smite 2, which is reserved for the top 100 players worldwide. So yeah, it's going to be like a leaderboard system. Essentially, that's basically your grandmasters for this game. Top 100 players worldwide, so it's not per region. I think it was per region in Smite 1, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it wasn't. I'm not a GM, dude. I don't grind for that stuff, so I don't really know. But yeah, it's going to be the top 100 players worldwide for that. So to be in Deity, you got to be pretty damn good at the game. It is possible to D-rank from all ranks in Smite 2. If a player loses a match and suffers a SR loss that will result in a D-rank, a player will first fall to the minimum SR rating for that rank. At that point, they will have to lose one more. So but yeah, basically you have one grace match. So as soon as you promote into that new rank, you've got one sort of like fallback game where you can lose it, and then as long as you don't lose 2 in a row, you can never D-rank. Party restrictions and matchmaking. This is a very big one. People have been calling for this for a long time. So Smite 2 Ranked Conquest aims to expand the player base, and to do so, we have brought down all the walls on party restrictions. A ranked system with fewer restrictions on parties can allow an influx of players who previously would never have tried ranked. Heavy restrictions also encourage other undesirable behavior like smurfing. We will gather valuable feedback and data on the connections between ranked matchmaking and party restrictions over the course of the test season, and adjustments will be made as necessary. So, new party type restrictions. Sorry if I'm speaking really fast, there's a lot to cover here. Players will be able to queue for Smite 2 ranked as a solo player or as a party of 2, 3, or 5. So you won't be able to queue as 4s, which I guess kind of makes sense, because then you'd have to fill a solo player, and they don't want that, because solo players will only be match made against other solo players, parties will only be match made against other parties. So yeah, you can't have 4 because then you need a solo player, but you can have 2, 3, and 5 because, you know, you could have a party of 2 and a party of 3, or you could have a party of 5. Parties will only be match made against other parties, and SR is consistent whether queuing solo or with a party. So there is still going to be a little bit of an issue there in terms of, like, you know, if you run into a 5-man party when you're a 2-man and a 3-man, you are going to be at a pretty significant disadvantage there. We'll have to see how that plays out. There are also no restrictions on ranks between party members, which I think is also going to be interesting. It's going to be cool that you can queue with anyone you want, but it's also going to cause some wacky situations. I imagine the party MMIs are going to be like some kind of average of all of the players in the party. So if you have like a Deity rank 5500 queuing with an Amber rank 200, you know, is that going to average out at like 2500 in like Diamond or something? Because that's going to be weird. You know, I feel like if you're in that situation, the Demigod's just going to absolutely body everyone. So I don't know how that's going to work. Maybe they explain it down here. To address the potential impact of parties with a large skill gap on the integrity of SR and Deity leaderboards, yeah, here we go. There will be adjustments to SR gains and losses to parties that meet a certain criteria. This dampening effect affects both gains and losses, so that players who wish to play competitive Smite with friends with a variety of skill ranges can do so without having it interfere too heavily on the trajectory of their SR journey. 25% reduction if the top and bottom players are more than 1200 apart, scaling another 25% for each additional 600 up to 75%. Immediate 50% reduction if a player in ranked is a party of Demigod or higher. So yeah, basically if you're queuing with people very far apart from you, it's going to be very hard to climb and very hard to declimb as well. Which is nice. It means that you can queue with people pretty much whatever you want, and you're not going to be worrying too much about, like, if you're queuing with someone that's really much worse than you, you're not going to be worried too much about losing your rank. I think it's cool, but it's also going to cause a little bit of carnage in party queues, I feel like, you know, because it's just going to be so hard to lose if you've got a Demigod on your team queuing with someone that, like, is dragging the party MMR down to, like, Platinum. But yeah, we'll have to see. I think it's cool overall that you can play as parties. Matchmaking changes may occur over the course of the ranked test season, as the current implementation is not the final implementation. Gathering data from this time period will be invaluable for creating a long-term sustainable matchmaking backbone to the ranked system. So yeah, there you go, a bunch of new stuff on ranked. There's going to be a bunch of new ranks, a bunch of new systems. The matchmaking we've discussed before in videos is going to be changing completely. So that's pretty cool. User interface. So illustrated card art returns, we talked about this before. They're going to be bringing back the 2D card arts. Item store updates, they've added the short description. Yeah, we've discussed about a lot of this stuff in the overview. Yeah, basically all this stuff we've discussed in the TLDR at the top. So progression and customization. Starting with this update, progression will not be reset, as mentioned, with possible rare exceptions if any extreme exploits are found. Yeah, if someone finds a way to somehow cheat 999 million diamonds onto their account, they're probably going to want to fix that. All progression earned and cosmetics unlocked will be permanent throughout all future beta and live phases. So for currencies, there's obviously legacy gems earned from Smite 1, double the amount if you buy Founders Edition, can be used to pay for up to 50% of the cost of most new Smite 2 content, and can be used to 100% unlock Smite 1 classic skins, gods, including new Smite 2 gods, and other specific items. And then there's diamonds, which are the new premium currency for Smite 2. So it's not going to be gems anymore, it's going to be diamonds. In terms of free diamonds, you can get 225 for free throughout the mastery tracks of the Ascension Pass system for each of your gods, and you can get 225 from reaching level 10 and owning the Ascension Pass. So if you buy the Ascension Pass for 900 diamonds, you're going to get a refund of 450. And if you don't buy them, you're just going to slowly get 225 diamonds over time for leveling up your mastery levels on different gods. There's also going to be daily logins. You get 100 diamonds spread over 7 days, so you get 100 diamonds a week for that. So playing for a little over 2 months, you'll be able to buy an Ascension Pass, that kind of stuff. Also, your progress never resets even if you miss a day. I'm not sure if this is how it worked in Smite 1 or not, but that's cool. Founders Edition screen and upgrades. You can now upgrade your Founders Editions from inside Smite 2. So if you wanted to get like the Zeus tier 5 or whatever, or any of the extra benefits that come with some of the higher tier Founders Editions, you can upgrade those in game now if you just bought like the standard Founders Edition and you want a better one. So worshippers are going to be in. It's basically going to be exactly the same as Smite 1, except of course there's now the Ascension Passes to give you better rewards for leveling up your gods. Account XP is going to be there. PvP games tracked in your player profile, and skill rating is going to be there as well. Earned from playing ranked games tracked in your player profile and displayed on your ranked tier. Custom games won't provide any progression as usual. God unlocks. Throughout the closed alpha phase, all gods except the most recent releases will be available for free on rotation for all players. These gods won't be marked with the free rotation icon to indicate this. For this closed alpha 1 update, Mordred and Jingwei will only be accessible for the Founders Edition owners, or will need to be unlocked with diamonds or legacy gems. So yeah, if you have a Founders pack, which is probably going to be a lot of the people playing, you have the Ultimate God pack from Smite 1 essentially, you have all gods for free. But if you come in via a code and you don't have a Founders pack, you're going to be relying on this free rotation. I believe you can also buy gods with legacy gems, as they mentioned further up, with 100% legacy gems. So if you want to do that, you can do that as well. Moving on, we got the Ascension Passes and God Mastery things. So I've mentioned these already. We saw them in the update insight show. So if you want a little bit more of a visual way of doing that, I've got a video that covers all of this stuff already. We've seen most of it, to be honest, but there might be a few more details here. So play PvP matches, earn worshippers, and reach mastery levels with your god, basically the same as Smite 1. Immediately on buying the Ascension Pass for your god, which is going to be 900 diamonds, you can also do 450 diamonds, 450 legacy gems for these as well. You get the shadow skin for that god, a unique tracker for that god, the mastery emote, and a permanent 25% worshipper boost. And then at these various different levels, you get different rewards as well. So at level 1, you get the clap emote and 10 diamonds, and some of these are ascended, so you have to own the pass, and some of these are free. So generally the free stuff is kind of mid, honestly. That's generally how it's going to be. So you get, like, you know, clap emotes and assist trackers and that kind of stuff, wave emotes, kill trackers. You get, like, the basic stuff for free, but if you want the really cool stuff, like the Radiant skins and the card artifacts, the global emotes and the opal skins and all this kind of stuff, you're going to have to pay for them. But honestly, I think they're pretty cool, so yeah. But yeah, we've seen most of that stuff before. If you do want a little bit more information on how these Ascension Passes are going to work, I do have a full video that covers that. I'll link that in the description. But moving on, we've got Conquest changes. So the environment overhaul, we've seen this already. It's been changed completely to a more like stylized fantasy kind of art style rather than going for like the realism. It's much more colorful. I think it looks a lot better. Starting gold has been increased from 750 to 1250. This is to account for starter items, so you can buy a starter item and a component and a couple of potions. Tower health and damage has generally been increased across the board. Phoenix has got basically the same changes. Duo lane is going to be wider, and the duo lane side jungle has been moved to compensate. Mid lane is also going to be wider. Jungle, small island next to yellow camp shrunk to improve flow, so there could be a little bit more of an open area there. Fire Giant gets more base health, so it's going to be a little bit harder to take. For Gold Fury, the Ancient Fury will now spawn whenever the Gold Fury is defeated 3 times, regardless of which team defeated her. Previously, she would spawn when one team has defeated her 3 times. So Ancient Fury is going to start spawning a little bit faster. This is good. Honestly, in a lot of the games I played, Ancient Fury has just never come into the equation because because the same team has to take it 3 times. Oracles have been added back. These have replaced the middle rotating buff camp on the Gold Fury side. So on the Gold Fury side of mid, those camps have been replaced with the Oracles. And they basically work like Smite 1. They're going to ward the Gold Fury pit for you in the last 60 seconds. So next up is the new camp, which is going to be an objective, the Queen Naga. So the Queen Naga will spawn in at 7 minutes into the match. An announcement will play for all players and her minimap icon will be visible. The Queen Naga has 4 random spawn locations, 2 on the Order side and 2 on the Chaos side. Once she has spawned on one side, her next spawn will always be on the opposite side. So this works a little bit like the Scorpion system that we had in Smite and like, was it season 9? I think we had that. Once spawned, she will idle for 45 seconds before starting her patrol. Her patrol path will always end at the opposing team's jungle side. For example, if she starts on the Order side, she'll patrol to the Chaos side, then end her patrol. Once she ends it, she'll idle for 45 seconds again before restarting it. So essentially, she's going to walk between Order and Chaos on whatever side of the map she spawns on. When attacked, she will create a dynamic leash area at her location. Her distance from her starting location will be represented on her health bar. Once she's too far from her starting location, she will return back to the original. While in combat, she will always attack the closest hostile target. This is different from other jungle camps who will only attack the first hostile target until they leave the leash area. Yeah, so you can't really leash it in the same way that you could leash normal camps, so it's just going to attack the closest person, so your tank is basically always going to be tanking this, I suppose. When defeated, she drops a new jungle buff called Naga Assault, detailed ahead. It is recommended to have at least 2 players to defeat her, and she respawns every 4 minutes. So it's going to be a sort of kind of Pyromancer level of difficulty, maybe sort of in between Pyromancer and BDK is what it sounds like, so maybe it's doable with like, you know, just the solo laner and the jungler or whatever, or maybe like the mid laner and the support could do it. But of course, there's going to be contention for this. It shows up on the map for both teams, so it's going to be very fought over. So the jungle buff drops from defeating the Queen Naga. Dealing damage to an objective or jungle boss spawns 2 Naga soldiers that assist you in battle. Naga soldiers will only attack the target you've initially hit. They will despawn if the player is defeated or if the target is defeated. There's a 20-second cooldown before you can summon more, and you can only summon a new set of soldiers when the previous set has been unsummoned or defeated. They scale based on the owner's level, so for, like at level 10, they're going to be a lot weaker than at level 20. And they can also be affected by the Gold Fury buff that buffs nearby minions as well, so that's a little bit of synergy there. And yeah, this is going to be a standard jungle buff style thing, so it's going to be not really like Pyromancer, but a little bit, you know, it drops a bomb and only one person can pick up that bomb. Only one person is going to be able to pick up this buff, so generally, you know, it's probably going to go to the jungler a lot of the time, but I guess it could go to the support because they're going to be based on level. They're not going to be scaling off of anything. So yeah, we'll have to see how the meta shapes out with this, but yeah, it's going to give you a big jungle buff that allows you to do objectives and jungle camps much faster. Arena versus AI is going to be there for this alpha. If you're not confident in your PvP skills, you can jump into Arena versus AI. Some brief arena changes as well, so it's getting the same environment overhaul that Conquest is getting, the same starting gold increase to account for starter items as well. The battle cry active has been removed because it conflicts with the consumable slots, so this is what you had before as like a little active button press where you would get a little bit of extra like power or something for a little while. I can't remember exactly what it did. Jungle Camp's infamy level is starting at 1 now instead of starting at 3. Apparently it was just too chaotic with all the extra buffs and all that kind of stuff. Hot streak changes. The hot streak effect was increasing the extremes too much. This changes to reduce the bounds of those extremes with the removal of the battle cry. Oh, that's boring. I mean, it's still 15%. It's still good, but I like this, dude. I think it's funny. Gift changes. Players are finding it hard to make use of the gift once they picked it up due to its short duration, so they've increased it to a minute now on the gifts. Moving on to gods though. So Mordred is coming. I've got a full video on his kit overview that he did on one of the deep dives where there's like gameplay of them and stuff like that, but they're going to give specific numbers here, so we'll have a quick look through. So deals physical damage, going to be mixed strength and int scaling, melee basic attacks, light tank based. So kind of sounds like in between an assassin and a warrior. So he has a 4 hit chain that's 1.75, 0.751, and the 0.75s are swung with his intelligence sword, the 1s are swung with his strength sword. So the morning is the strength sword, that's going to be 100% strength, 20% int, which is normal attack scaling. And Clarent is going to scale with 100% int and 60% strength. So the Clarent is definitely going to be chunking if you're building a hybrid build, scaling off of both of these. Because it's not 100% int, 20% strength, it's 60% strength. So it's going to be scaling pretty hard there. Definitely a reason to build int on Mordred. You know, his abilities will scale with it as well, of course, as we'll see. But 100% int scaling on basic attacks is kind of insane. There's a reason it's only 20% in normal Smite, because int, like magical power in Smite 1, it's much more available than strength is going to be. So the passive is kind of like King Arthur's passive, hit enemies to gain wrath, and you've got an ultimate that uses 40 wrath or 80 wrath. And after using an ability or attacking, your interact key becomes a dash forward. This deals physical damage and knocks back the first enemy god hit. So yeah, essentially on his passive, you've got like a little interact key that is, I believe, bound to your jump key by default. And it gives you a little small dash that you can use. It has a cooldown. It's not going to be usable like infinitely. You can't just like attack, dash, attack, dash, attack, dash. But it is on a relatively low cooldown from what I've seen. And so yeah, it's a little bit King Arthur themed in that way as well, you know, where you would use your auto attacks to get little dashes in between your abilities and stuff. With King Arthur, you're going to be able to do that on Mordred with this little dash that you've got on a relatively short cooldown. His one is a little double slash. The first slash deals base plus 45% strength, and then the slam does a little bit more strength scaling. And then it's going to deal either base plus 40% of your procs as bonus damage, or base base plus 45% of your procs as a heal based on your attack chain. So I believe the damage is if you are on the morning of your attack chain. So basically, if you haven't attacked, you'll be starting on morning. And then if you've used one attack and your next attack will be Claren, the int scaling sword, then it's going to be giving you the heal. So basically, if you auto cancel it, you're going to get the heal. But if you use it normally without auto canceling it, it's going to give you the bonus damage. Blood Rage deals mixed scaling damage to enemies around you, and then you gain increased attack speed and movement speed. And also, while both basic attack hits on enemies reduce their physical procs and increase your own. The 3 fires a projectile, dealing int damage and slows enemies. Direct hits with the center of the projectile cause target to bleed, taking bonus strength scaling damage as they move, so kind of like a Charon 2 style effect. Not Charon 2, sorry, Charon 1. Heart Slash, the weak ultimate, the 40 Wrath ultimate, deals base plus 70% strength damage to enemies in an area in front of you. If you hit an enemy god, they are rooted, and you then channel to siphon their life force, gaining a health shield and healing all the time, which is int scaling, while dealing int-based physical damage repeatedly to that enemy. And then finally, as alternate ultimate, the 80 energy one. You've probably seen this if you've been keeping up with the news. You come CC immune and charge forward, traveling through walls, stopping on the first enemy god hit. Nearby enemies, it's a pretty big area. It's not even that nearby. They take base strength and int equal scaling physical damage and are stunned. After a short delay, you launch yourself up into the air. Stunned enemies come with you, and you repeatedly deal mixed scaling physical damage to them while they're in the air. So yeah, basically you can run through walls. You can sort of like predator onto your target. You hit them, and then a big AoE around them, as well as the target you hit. You launch everyone up into the air. You do a big like multi-slash on them, and then throw them back down, kind of like King Arthur's 4B. So yeah, Mordred looking pretty cool, I gotta say. I'm excited to give him a try, start getting my worshippers on him in 24/7. It looks really cool. Jingwei is also going to be coming. So in terms of new features, Persistent Gust now has a secondary larger circle area, which does not hit enemies, but does allow Jingwei to gain the attack speed buff without being hit by her own knockup. Interesting, so if you want to get those benefits, you don't necessarily have to knock yourself up, which is going to make her flow a lot better in teamfights probably. You can kind of just like throw this down and then just like run through the area, maybe as you're chasing someone down that you just knocked up, and you can get that bonus attack speed without needing to knock yourself up. Explosive Bolts now has 1, 2, 2, 3, 3 charges per rank, allowing the ability to be fired up to 3 times in rapid succession, and therefore getting up to 9 explosive bolt shots in a row if the ability is activated after every 3rd shot. Oh, it took me a minute to realize what they meant there. That is kind of insane, dude. So it can be fired 3 times in rapid succession, so if you want to, you can just hold 3 of these charges. I assume it's going to work like every other ability that has charges, like Pele's 1 or whatever, where like they all have their own separate cooldown, so you are going to have to wait, you know, 3 times the regular cooldown to be able to charge up 9 of these explosive bolts. But then if you want to, you can just go absolutely ham with those. So like at the start of the fight, you're going to have 9 of these available. Obviously, when you're in the fight, you're probably going to want to just use it on cooldown and get those out. Yeah, especially to start fights, or as you like come back into lane after dying or after backing or whatever, you're going to have 9 of these available. That's kind of crazy, dude. Agility's dash now has a left-right turning control available, so you can dash a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right, I assume that means. And airstrike can now strike a second time directly back in the direction it was fired from. This will occur if Jingwei does not immediately choose a landing location. The second strike can be skipped by landing immediately. Okay, so as you go up, you can hover in the air for a little bit, and it'll do another strike behind you. Generally, people aren't going to get hit by this, I assume, but it could cause carnage in teamfights. And yeah, other than that, I think there's not much else changed with Jingwei. She's still going to be full strength scaling. She's still going to be dealing physical damage. She's still going to have crit synergy and all that kind of stuff. Moving on, we have god damage types. So as mentioned, all Smite 2 gods will now only deal 1 damage type, physical or magical, for all of their basic attacks and abilities. This is the list of them. I believe none are different from Smite 1, so it's not like Nita's going to be dealing magical damage anymore. She's probably still going to be a heavy int user for that ability burst build, but she is still going to be dealing physical damage. But of course, any god can still build any item. Any god can still scale with different amounts of strength or int, depending on their damage type. You know, not necessarily just because you're a strength user or you're a physical god. That probably will be the case the vast majority of the time. But a lot of mixed scaling gods could be very different. You know, even if you lean a little bit more heavily on strength, you might still be a magical dealing god, for example. I feel like a lot of people get that confused. I got a lot of comments about that. Damage type and strength versus int are different things. So far, these are the gods that are going to be 100% strength scaling. These are going to be all the full int scaling. They're going to have no strength scaling whatsoever in their kit, and these are going to be all the mixed gods. I'll probably have a full video guide on this coming out on my channel relatively soon on which gods, you know, are purely strength, purely int, or purely mixed. Obviously, this list gives you a good idea, but I'll give like builds and, you know, which of like int or strength you should lean into a bit more with the mixed characters and that kind of stuff. And like, for example, if you want to do an auto attack Zeus build, you might still want some strength in there just because it's entirely ability scaling his intelligence, so you might want a little bit of strength in there. there's more new ones than just this list, so I might have a full video coming out on that. A bunch of God Polish adjustments have been made. I'm not going to read through all of this, probably because a lot of people don't care. You'll just, you'll play the game and you'll feel it, and also because this video is already 45 minutes, at least the raw recording is, and I don't want to make it overly long. But yeah, a bunch of stuff has been changed in terms of making the gods feel better and making the gods play better, like adjusting their VFX, adjusting their timings, adjusting like knock-up values, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, as you can see, this is absolutely massive list, so hopefully things will be a lot better when we go into this next alpha. And finally, I believe, maybe not finally, there's still quite a lot of this document to go. This is absolutely massive patch, as I've said. We got God Balance. Athena, basic attacks go to magical, reach goes to magical, and has shifted its damage formula a little bit. Preemptive strike going back to magical. Honestly, I don't know if I need to go over all of this. As I said, this video is like incredibly long already. I'll link the notes down below if you're like interested in these specific balance changes, but at this level of Smite 2, where it's just going 24/7, balance isn't really that important, and also a lot of these changes are just switching them back to the damage type they should have been. Moving on though, we do have item changes, so God inventory changes. Players in Smite 2 will now have 2 consumable slots, as we've mentioned. These slots will use the same default key bindings. A free ward with a cooldown will no longer be granted to players, so you don't have free wards anymore, you gotta buy them. And they will be sold as wards and sentry wards with the same stacking rules as Smite 1, so you can hold 2 wards and 1 sentry ward, but you can only have 2 wards active at a time. Health potion, mana potion, and elixirs will use these slots as well, and health chalice has also been added. Rejoice Soul Lives, we got health chalice back. This is the full list of starter items that are going to be returning from Smite 1 into Smite 2 in this patch. So we got Warrior's Axe, Bluestone Pendant, Bumba's Dagger, Bumba's Cudgel, Conduit Gem, Sands of Time, Leather Cowl, Death Toll, War Flag, and Selflessness, which is the, I believe it was called... Why can I not remember what that was called? The support starter that built into Heroism and Compassion. That's the one that's going to be coming back. And you can see all the upgrades here as well. It looks like they are going to only have 1 upgrade for this patch, but they did say that they're going to be working on branching upgrades for these in the future patches. But the current upgrade options available are Sundering Axe, Bluestone Brooch, Bumba's Spear, Bumba's Hammer, Archmage's Gem, Pendulum of Ages, Hunter's Cowl, Death's Embrace, War Banner, and Heroism. New relics, Phantom Shell and Aegis of Acceleration. So these have been added to the relic pool, so we now have Blink, Beads, Phantom Shell, Aegis of Acceleration, and Sunder. Active item changes, you're now going to be limited to 3 active items. You get an additional HUD icon for them. The first active item will use the default keybind and button press as Smite 1 did for Relic 2. So if your build is only including 1 active item, if you know that's the meta build, or if you're intentionally doing that to adjust yourself to the system, it's going to be quite easy because basically your muscle memory from Smite 1 to press your second relic, that's going to be your active item slot. But then if you're buying more, the second and third will be using new binds. New Smite 2 items. So ported roughly the top 20 most used and popular items from Smite 1 to Smite 2 to ensure everyone has a solid and familiar foundation to start building from. So this is the full list of items that are going to be coming back from Smite 1, a lot of the most popular and favorite ones. So we got Crusher, Serrated Edge, Transcendence, Heartseeker, Devos, Book of Thoth, Spear of Desolation, Soul Gem, Doom Orb, Spirit Robe, Prophetic Cloak, Void Stone, Void Shield, Glorious Pribbwin, Shifted Shield, Shield of the Phoenix, Berserker Shield, Mystical Mail, Road to Hooty, Genji's Guard, Gauntlet of Thebes, Demonic Grip, and Chalice of Healing. They've done a clarity pass as well. Basically, what I said in a video a little while ago is what they've done. So they basically, any items that are just the same as a Smite 1 item, but they had a different name and icon for no reason, they've changed that. So Serpent Spear was the big percent pen bomb item, basically the equivalent of Titan's Bane. It's now just going to be using Titan's Bane art from Smite 1, and it's going to be called Titan's Bane. They've done that for a bunch of these items down here. Some of the component system changes. So every upgrade is 1 or 2 components on gold. There's no more 3 component recipes, and no tier 1s jumping right into tier 3s. It makes upgrading items more clear and fills less inventory space. The inventory space is going to be a little bit less of an issue now, of course, because you don't have to have your potions there either. They're going to have their own slot, but yeah, it is a bit annoying when you've got like 3 different components sat there and you kind of like can't buy a tier 2 because you've got so many components. They made tier 2 to tier 3 upgrades more meaningful, so they basically increased the cost a little bit. You know, some like the full components in tier 2s into the tier 3 was like 200 gold. So they've increased the cost of those a little bit. They're going to be more like, you know, 600, 700 gold now or whatever. But they're also going to have a more meaningful stat increase in addition to the passive effect. They're trying to use more round numbers like 10, 25, and 50 as much as possible. This is good. It was weird that some items had like 24 strength on them or like 9 intelligence on them. It was super weird. Make sure no upgrade path loses any stats. This is also important. All recipes are unique. There's no duplicates, and many new tier 2 items are added to support this system. Max mana has been given a stat efficiency bump, so you're now going to be paying 2 gold per point for max mana instead of 3 gold. Penetration has been unified. Kin's Blade, they have reverted the passive to dealing based on the target's max HP and not max HP from items only. I don't like this change, actually. I think it was really cool that Kins worked that way. But yeah, they're changing that back. Executioner, Demonic Grip, and Totem of Death. These 3 items all gain the same amount of piercing buff, so they do not stack. So yeah, if you're like a mixed int and strength user, some kind of ADC that's a mixed int strength user, like Soul maybe, you can't build both Executioner and Demonic Grip and completely ruin people. They're not going to stack with each other. They have removed Phantom's Ring, Emblem of Namaka, Bagua Mirror, Eldritch Orb, and the Neems. A lot of these have been replaced. So for example, the Neems is going to be Gauntlet of Thebes, so that's not necessarily removed. Gauntlet of Thebes is still going to be there. It's just going to be using the Smite 1 flavor. And auto builds have been updated for all gods and roles, and role filters have been updated to match all of this system. There's bug fixes down here as well. That's basically the patch notes. I've been going for almost an hour at this point, so we're going to leave it there. This is an absolutely massive patch. It's going to be absolutely huge for the game. I'm very excited to play on it on August 27th. I think it's going to be absolutely sick. Mordred looks cool. They're bringing a bunch of Smite 1 gods. They're changing systems completely, making it feel much more like Smite 1, but still, you know, very different, especially with the strength and scaling system. It's going to be absolutely great. My voice is kind of going at this point. I've been yelling for way too long about this patch, so hopefully you guys have enjoyed my coverage of this. Hopefully it wasn't too long for you. I know you guys leave comments saying you're glad that my patch note review videos aren't like 1 hour 30 of stream VODs, and so I tried to keep it relatively short and give you guys the info that you need, but this one, it was just such a massive patch, I couldn't keep it under like 40 minutes. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Let me know your thoughts on this patch down below, and I'll catch you guys for another one later on. Have a great day, and peace out, you nerds.